Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the things that I stopped buying that I think really helped me level up my own personal style and just make me feel more stylish and confident in myself overall. I think when it comes to the whole style discovery journey and figuring out what it is you like to wear and what you like to buy when you're shopping, I think we really focus on what to buy rather than what not to buy. And I think when you know what you don't want, that's when you can start to make a lot more room for the things you actually do. So let's get into it. For those of you who don't know me, welcome. My name is Christina. I talk all about things like intentional living, intentional spending, and how to get the most out of what you've already got. If any of that sounds interesting to you, then why not join the fam, hit subscribe, and if you want to see even more bonus behind the scenes content, extended interviews of guests I have on my channel, and just like things that I don't know, you won't really see anywhere else, then you can consider joining my YouTube membership. You can just hit the little join button down below and I'll see you in there. No pressure on that though. Your support in terms of a like, a subscribe, a comment, all of that means so much to me. And I just want to say thank you for being here. I appreciate you. All right, let's get into it. Number one was that I stopped buying basics only. And yeah, I understand the irony of wearing a wardrobe basic as I talk to you about no longer buying basics. But what I'm saying is that I think once you have your core foundation of wardrobe basics covered, you're pretty much done. You don't necessarily need to be adding more of the same in that way. But I found for the longest time, that's what I used to do. Because in my mind, there was always like something slightly different about this t-shirt than from that one, or from this button down than from this one, or these jeans fit slightly different or were a slightly different color, and so I needed to have it. And what I find, at least from my own dressing behavior, is I still reach for the one that I reach for the most. You know what I mean? Like, unless my favorite piece is dirty or in the wash or something, then that's when I'll reach for my duplicate. But I feel like when it comes to your wardrobe basics, you probably have a few of your favorites that you wear and reach for, and you just don't necessarily need to be buying more of the same thing over and over again. And I found when I stopped buying primarily basics was when I started feeling like my wardrobe and my style was just starting to feel a lot more fun. I will say that my style, it's not really out there, avant-garde, eccentric. It's not really even very risky, I would say. It is fairly classic and basic in a lot of its foundation. But what I mean by no longer buying basics is that if I'm going to buy something like a blazer or a pair of jeans, I want them to have something interesting to them, either through shape, silhouette, color, texture, pattern. Maybe it has like a really cool shoulder pad. Maybe it's made of a material that I don't have, or something that's a little bit different than your basic wool or cotton, for example. So when I stopped buying basics, that's when I felt like I could just really kind of step out of my comfort zone with my wardrobe and just start looking for clothes that had really interesting details that I could appreciate, that also just took that outfit to the next level. So I'm staying within my comfort zone and within my wardrobe regulars and things that I love to wear. And it just makes things for me feel a little bit more elevated than I used to. So I love it. Number two are just because items. I've talked at length on my channel about doing your best to avoid buying things just because they're on sale, but I think this also really applies to things like when you're thrifting or when you're shopping secondhand, or you just happen to come across a really, really great deal. Like, I'll watch TikTok videos of people finding gems at the thrift store or finding high-end designer brands at the thrift store, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I found this, it's so cool, but they also mention that it's not their style and it's not in their size. So maybe those creators are buying those items to resell. But for me, when it comes to shopping, whether it be secondhand, firsthand, anything like that, it really has to be something that I have in mind and that I want to buy to fill a gap in my wardrobe. I've really been pulled in by things like really cheap deals, like this is one of a kind, like this is designer and it's a great price, so I'm gonna buy it. And sometimes we will pull the trigger on that and it turns out to be a great buy, but I really try to ask myself if I'm buying this just because. And I just start to ask myself more questions if I feel myself being pulled in or drawn by either a really good deal, a really good price, or a really cool gem at the thrift store. If it doesn't fit my personal style, if I don't see myself wearing it in multiple different ways, if it doesn't feel like a hell yes piece, then that's really exciting that I found a good deal, but I'm not gonna let it into my wardrobe. It's gonna be something that takes up more space in my closet, and it can take up more space mentally. It's a mental load to see a piece in your wardrobe every day and then remind yourself that you're not wearing it. And doing this does make me feel more stylish because I'm really only letting in pieces that I'm actually going to wear and not pieces that are just cluttering up my wardrobe for no reason. And sort of piggybacking off of that point, the next thing I stopped buying to feel more stylish was any outfit I had to convince myself to wear. I call these my rationalization pieces. So these are pieces that I find I would either just feel like I would really need to work hard and just kind of like psych myself up to actually wear in the guise of, telling myself that I'd push myself out of my comfort zone or I am expanding my style and I'm experimenting, when I just find that I think in your gut you really know. One of my favorite sayings, and I really think it applies to so much more than clothes and shopping, is that if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And I think in your gut you really know what a hell yes is versus not. When you start to rationalize with yourself and either create scenarios that probably won't really happen in real life, or even things that end up requiring more money put into it, more time, more things to make it work, then I think maybe skip buying it altogether. Because once it's in your wardrobe, that feeling probably isn't going to change. Sometimes they do, and if they did, I think that's great, but I just find pieces that I really had to sort of push myself into buying or create a bunch of different reasons or scenarios to buy instead of feeling hell yes about it from the get-go. Those were pieces that I just never ended up wearing, or when I did wear them, I felt so uncomfortable and so unlike myself and so out of place, and really the clothes were wearing me and not the other way around. But I think I wanted to try so hard to make certain pieces work or to really start to like certain pieces. And I thought maybe by exposing myself to more and more of these pieces, I would eventually start enjoying them. And that does work sometimes, but most of the time, save maybe a very few select specific items in my closet, I just never ended up wearing it, and I felt horrible when I did. And as soon as I stopped that and just started wearing the pieces that I loved, my hell yes pieces, pieces that I just felt really comfortable in and excited about, that's when I started to feel more stylish and more confident in my closet and in my decision making when I did go shopping. Clothes that don't fit. So, okay, I love me a good oversized piece. I love a piece that feels really relaxed and just has a sense of ease to it. I talked about in a video of things that I find really stylish, and one of the things I absolutely love and that I find incredibly chic on other people is when there's just this sense of relaxation somewhere in the piece. But it took me a long time and a lot of wardrobe flops to understand the difference between a piece that is oversized versus a piece that is just too big. I used to buy pieces that were like 2 or 3 sizes too big for me and then just wonder why I still felt frumpy and continuously buried in fabric, versus getting pieces that are your size but are intentionally made and engineered to fit a little bit more relaxed. And I find when I started purchasing pieces that were my correct size but in a more relaxed silhouette was when I started to feel a lot less sloppy and a lot more stylish. At least for me, I felt starting to actually achieve that sense of ease and effortlessness that I thought most people achieved by sizing up 3 or 4 sizes. Buying too many duplicates. Now, I do have duplicates in my wardrobe, so I'm not saying I entirely don't do this, but what I stopped doing was buying duplicates in things like other colors that I do not wear. So for example, I know I love things like black and white t-shirts, tank tops, blazers, and I don't wear things like pink, purple, orange, or yellow. But back in the day, I used to really think that, if I love this t-shirt so much in white and I get so much wear out of it in white, then I'm gonna buy it in yellow to experiment. That for me has usually been a big mistake because I just never ended up reaching for that piece. And I think a lot of people fall into this trap when they want to start experimenting with colors. They just kind of buy the same thing that they know they wear a lot. And I fell for that same mistake too, but I found what it would do is I would just end up feeling really flat and basic. So when you buy the same flat cotton t-shirt in white versus yellow, it's still a cotton t-shirt. There's no extra depth or dimension that it gives. There's no extra little bit of interest. So instead, I find if I want to experiment with things like colors, I will search for things that have a really interesting texture to them, because that way they add a little bit more depth. They kind of expand the range of my wardrobe, where I'm no longer buying just basics. So it's not basic on top of basic on top of basic being layered over each other. And for me now, I'm like, why would I buy this t-shirt in yellow when I know I'm just gonna wear the white one more? It's just a rationale that I thought made sense. And when you think about it, kind of does make sense, but in practice, I just never did it. So I stopped doing that. I still do buy duplicates in other colors, but they're in colors that I actually wear. So for example, I have my favorite t-shirt from COS in white, but I also have it in black. They're colors that I wear all the time. I know it's a good t-shirt, so that I'm comfortable with doing, but I'm not comfortable with buying a duplicate in a color that's just way out of left field, because it just does not work for me. The next is relying on clothes to make the outfit. But I say this a lot on my channel, and I find that we put a lot of emphasis on clothing items and not enough on things like accessories. So I find with the power of accessories, and especially if you have a more basic or minimal aesthetic in your style, you can really take a basic outfit to the next level just by adding good accessories. Things like jewelry, belts, sunglasses, and an interesting bag. So although I feel like the focus is often on clothing and buying things like statement pieces, I think you can get a lot more mileage out of some really good accessories that you can use to take your clothes to the next level. I just found it really helped make my outfits feel a lot more polished. I felt a lot more stylish overall, and I didn't necessarily have to add more clothes to my closet. And especially when we talk about things like cost per wear, I think things like outerwear, shoes, and accessories are probably your best bet, and probably where you can get some of the best cost per wear in your wardrobe. And they are such hard workers in your closet, so don't forget about the accessories. This one's gonna be, I think, controversial, but I stopped avoiding buying into trends. I stopped thinking that buying into trends was a bad thing. Now, this comes with a huge caveat that I do think that a lot of the problem we have with overconsumption and the fashion industry as a whole, and the reason that we feel like we're never enough when it comes to fashion, is because of the trend cycle and this constantly, like, it's always chasing a moving target. But I don't think trends are necessarily all bad. I think in some ways they can offer a really fun and interesting way to just change up your style and to level it up and let it evolve over time. And the way I do this is by buying into them really slowly. So when they are kind of at the peak of the trend, if I'm seeing them everywhere on things like social media, then I do still like to wait on it. And I want to give myself that time and space to see if I'm still thinking about it or still interested in it. And then the other thing I like to think about is this something that I would actually wear? Is it something that offers a new shape, silhouette, texture? How does it complement what I already have? And am I simply going to wear it? So I think there are more mindful ways to buy into trends. If you want to know more about that, let me know, and I can make a whole video on it and things that I ask myself and think about before I decide to buy into a trend. But I don't think they're necessarily all bad, and I don't think that you're a total sheep if you decide to buy into them. But I do think the trend needs to complement your own style and make you feel elevated in some way. So those are some clothes that I stopped buying, not only to feel more stylish, but to also feel more confident and happy with the purchases that I do make. I think when it comes to our clothes and our styles, the best way that you're going to develop that is by wearing your clothes, figuring out what it is you like, and through that is kind of when you learn what you don't like. So I just think it's all really good information to know and reflect on at the end of the day. And you do have to experience some flops before you find the good ones. So let me know some things you stopped buying or doing that ultimately made you feel a lot more stylish and confident in yourself. Let me know down below. If you like this video, I would appreciate it so much if you gave it a thumbs up to let YouTube know. It's truly, honestly, one of the best ways you can support me, and I really appreciate it. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.